What's up guys, I'm the Lazy Gold Maker. I've been using Professions and playing the auction house in World of Warcraft since like the original TBC. Today I'm going to cover the absolute basics of gold making. So some of you who have been following me for a while probably won't learn that much new from this video. But if you're someone who just struggles with how do you even make gold in this game? What do you do? I don't understand anything. How do you generate sales? This video is for you. And it doesn't really matter if you're playing Dragonflight or Wrath Classic, it's literally all the same concepts. So this one is relevant for you regardless. So let's dive in. So first things, there are three major methods to make gold in World of Warcraft and probably in most other MMOs actually. At least the ones that allow player trading. You can farm, which means you either go out, you gather mining nodes, or you just go out and kill mobs, and then you get some items that they drop, whether they are materials you can sell on the auction house, if you're farming old dungeons for transmog or whatever. That's the easy way. Everyone knows about gold farming by killing mobs, or most people do, because it doesn't require you to do anything special, you just need to go out and kill. Then you can use crafting professions. So World of Warcraft has tons of professions where you take materials and turn them into some finished item that players might be willing to pay more for than what they are selling the materials for. Lastly, you can play the market. You can buy stuff on the auction house and try to resell it for more gold. This is typically called flipping, but there are also some other methods where you're just like trying to buy and sell on the auction house. Obviously, this is harder and riskier. So we're going to go through all three of these methods, sort of what you need to know about how they work in theory. We're not going to go into like specific suggestions for markets. There's tons of other videos out there for that. This is to help you understand what does this even do? How do you get good at farming, or how do you get good at professions, or what's the focus type of items? So yeah, let's dive in. So farming is the most basic gold making method. The advantages of farming is that there's no real risk. You're only risking your time. You're going to go out into the world, you're going to farm some mining nodes, you're going to kill some mobs, and you're going to get something that has value. So this is really the best entry level in terms of like, if you just want a little bit of extra gold for like your raid consumables or whatever, then farming is pretty good. And particularly if you want to make gold with farming and you want to get more into gold making, then my suggestion is to farm whatever the current expansion materials are. So like farming the various ores or herbs or leather around the Dragon Isles if you're playing Dragonflight, or from Wrath of the Lich King zones if you're playing Wrath Classic. And that's because these items are the ones that sell the fastest, because generally speaking people care more about like their end game performance than anything else in the game. So they're going to buy most of the materials that are max level stuff. There's tons of items you can farm for, and probably literally thousands of guides for specific farming routes and places on YouTube. You can search for them yourself. There's tons of good creators. Not me. I personally hate farming, so I don't make any farming videos. I dislike it. So you won't find them here, but it's definitely a valid way to make gold. Now, generally speaking, materials and useful gear, those are the two top or fastest sellers. Then you have mounts, and then lastly you have items that are just sold for transmog and battle pets. They sell slowly, but all of them can be profitable, and all of them are items you can farm and make gold with. So farming is also something that if you're talking about an optimized gold making strategy, then it has a part of it, because if you're starting out with like 50,000 gold and you want to get into the auction house or crafting professions, then you're going to spend that 50,000 gold on materials like that, and then you're out of gold and you don't have anything to do except go farm. So that's the other part of farming. It's definitely useful, although I personally hate it. That's just because I'm weird like that. I find sitting on the auction house or sitting looking at the crafting window fun. And that's what we're going to talk about next, crafting professions. My personal favorite way to make gold. Yeah, you buy materials, you craft something that's worth more than what the materials cost you. You can sell almost anything, but generally speaking, people care mostly about items that increase their player power. So that's going to be gear, enchants, consumables. And you'll want to look at PvE or PvP guides to figure out what items those are. So they're going to give you a list of like, these are the consumables people want, these are the enchants people want, this is the crafted gear people want. And then you can look up those and figure out if they're selling for more than the materials or not. I'm going to talk a little bit about like what add-ons you can use to do that at the end. The advantage of crafting is, of course, that you can add more and more professions and more items to your repertoire as your gold pile grows. But when you're just starting out, you won't be able to craft that much. So if I wanted to craft chronocloth bolts that are profitable, they're going to cost me 800 per, and I can craft 30. So if I don't have 20,000 gold, then I can't even use all my charges. Whereas if I have, well, I have 87,000 gold on this character, but on this realm I have almost 60 million gold. So obviously I could just craft all of these, and I could craft all of my Asherweave bolts, and I could go look through the entire list and craft everything that showed a profit if I wanted to. Crafting is more risky than farming, obviously, because you're, at least the way I do it, is you're buying the materials on the auction house. So there's a risk that the price is going to change. Prices typically change over time. Material prices and everything else is typically trending downwards throughout the entire expansion. And that can really screw you over. And it has screwed me over at times, even in Dragonflight. So you need to make sure that you're actually selling the items at the price you calculated, whether or not this is profitable. But on average, it's really good. It's a great gold making method. It really varies a little bit from expansion to expansion, like what's the capital requirements and stuff like that, and what exactly are the best recipes. But the general trend is that you can almost always craft stuff that players need for a profit, and it's even though the profit is only really high at the beginning, it's typically a reasonable profit throughout the entire expansion. Now, if you're looking to really optimize crafting, as I said before, high level, max level items, gear, consumables, that's where the most gold is. And typically people pile into just a very small number of recipes. So if you were playing at the launch of Dragonflight, the Elemental Lariat recipe, people who got that first, they could charge 40,000 per Lariat or even 100k and just be swimming in crafting orders all day, making multiple gold caps in like a couple of days. The same with getting quality 3 enchants and gems. If you were the first one, you made a huge amount of gold. And that's the way to make like very large amounts of gold, is to be the first to market or among the first players with a recipe that's very, very useful, or a huge number of players want for their mains. So then we have the last method, flipping, or buying and selling on the auction house. So flipping is just the term we use. It's a pretty normal one around trading in general. You're buying something low, you're selling it for more than you bought it for. Yeah, you're pretty much just looking for items that are cheaper than the market value, or a price that you expect that you can sell the item for. And then you're looking to buy it and sell it for more than that. There's also some other more even riskier methods, like resetting. As you can see here, I'm still selling off my chronocloth bolts for those of you who watched my videos on resetting. The chronocloth bolt market. This is by far the riskiest one, because you're not changing the item. You're just selling the same item that you bought, so it has to sustain a higher price than what you bought it for, or you're going to lose gold. This is the number one way that players lose gold. In retail or in Dragonflight, the best flipping markets are battle pets, transmog, and mounts typically, because you want to focus on items that are sold on your auction house and not on the region-wide auction house, because the region-wide auction house is just too risky in general for flipping, in my opinion. Now, if you're playing Wrath, then material flipping is one of my favorite beginner gold making methods, because of the old auction house with stack sizing, and it's all on one realm. So if you're doing that, then definitely check out my video on Wrath material flipping. I think that's a fantastic method. But for retail, you want to look at battle pets, you want to look at transmog mounts. I just made a video on battle pet flipping as well, so you can check that out if you want to get into a specific market. This is some of the most fun gold making can be, flipping. It has been really fun for me in the past with BOE flipping and Legion and BFA. There's not many flipping markets currently that I enjoy that much. But this truly allows you to feel like you are controlling a market, or you're manipulating, or you're like with your fingers in so many different pies. It can be very fun. It can be risky. It can also be extremely profitable. So yeah. So those are the three methods, the three like major methods, the types of things you can do to make gold. And all of these, like on a high level, theoretical level, have been profitable, very profitable. in every expansion I've played and tried to make gold. Like, I've made gold with crafting professions, with flipping, not much with farming since I don't do it, but I've done that in every expansion I've played since the original TBC. There's always markets to find. I think Dragonflight probably has been one of the hardest ones for crafting professions. But I think I'm still, I think I'm finally on the path there as well. Now, there are some other things you should know about as well. Obviously, this isn't going to teach you like specifically how to make gold, so for that you have to look up specific guides, which I have a ton of and other creators have tons of. But in general, my experience is that players care the most about being strong. They want to make their character strong. If you look up the items that are going to be expensive and sell fast, that's going to be high level gear. It's going to be like mythic eye level armor and weapons. Even though you might find transmog that's more expensive, that's going to sell like once every 2 months, every year. Whereas mythic BOEs, you can sell that multiple per week if you're selling that, because people are just way more interested in investing in making their characters strong. So that's always been the best ways to make gold. But so I've made millions, literally millions and millions and millions from crafted gear in Shadowlands. I've not made that in Dragonflight because you can only sell that through crafting orders. But useful gear, useful enchants, useful consumables is the best way to make quick gold. If you have a longer term view, then adding transmog cosmetic items that have a slower sale rate but has very high profit potential is a good idea, but that's going to take a lot longer to get the sale, and you have to have a lot more items for sale. Then there are a couple of add-ons that I think you need to know about. I think trying to do gold making without add-ons is it's possible, but it's very, very annoying. Now, the number one add-on is called Trade Skill Master. It essentially replaces the auction house UI. It can replace the crafting UI. It has just a ton of functionality, and it's extremely strong. It adds pricing data to your items, like the tooltip. You can see here there's tons of information about what the market value of this item is, how many I have, all of that stuff. It's a complex one though. The basic, obviously covering what it does is way out of the scope of this video. But the basic building blocks is that you put items in a group and then you add operations that are essentially rules for how what you're gonna do with that item. So I have an auctioning operation that's gonna set rules for, like, I'm gonna post 5,000 of this item and then I'm gonna post them within this price band. I'm just gonna undercut the cheapest other auction. Yeah, I have a full series of guides on my blog if you're interested. I haven't made videos. There's also videos if you prefer that from other creators. Then there are other add-ons out there. There's some farming specific add-ons. Loot Appraiser. It's going to give you a little window that shows you the value of any items that drop. It can be very useful. You can measure your gold per hour and stuff like that. There's one called Routes, which I think is just going to show you like farming routes. You can import mining and herbing routes that you can follow. Very useful for farming. Then there's a bunch of other auction house and profession add-ons. There's one called Auctionator, which adds a very simple purchasing and selling UI, which can be very useful for people who don't want to battle or really get into Trade Skill Master. And then you have something called Craft Sim for Dragonflight, which is absolutely huge. It adds all of this information around here. It has a bunch of useful features. It's going to show you the average profit, which is really useful for items where you rely on inspiration for getting quality 3. So for instance, the Chronocloth Bolt. If I was just looking at quality 2 or quality 3, then how am I going to know? And then you need to take the multi-craft into account as well. And we can see that I'm actually making 238 gold on average here, even though the crafting cost is 800 gold. And the quality 3s are barely selling for 840, and the quality 2s are selling for less than 800. So this is very, very useful. It also has a bunch of other features, like you can go through and scan your recipes to find the most profitable ones. You're optimizing for inspiration. You can optimize for a specific quality of materials as well. I have a video on Craft Sim as well, so if you want to see about what that's all about, then you have to get it or look at it. But I think that trying to do gold making without add-ons is possible, but it requires an absolutely huge amount of work. That being said, the retail UI is fairly good on the auction house. There's lots of stuff you can do with just this base UI. I use this for some markets to just post my stuff, and it works fine. Lastly, I wanted to talk about how you can get started. So you're sitting there, you have 40,000, 10,000, 30,000 gold, and you want to get into gold making. What are you going to do? Well, the number one thing you do is to open up your profession window, and you see, do you have any professions? Do you like your current professions? If so, try to figure out if they're profitable. So if you're playing retail, then just go to the recipe scan. Scan your profession with a craft sim and figure out if there's something that shows up with the profit. And then you can craft those things that show up. So I can see that the Simply Stitched Reagent bag has a huge amount of profit. It's just 29 gold. We can see that their Chronocloth and Azure Weave is profitable. I don't have too many recipes on this character because it's just an alt, but this is what I'd start with. I'd go craft the cooldown cloth for sure, because those are profitable. You can also optimize profession tools, and it'll check if you have better tools for any of the crafts. So that's the first part. Just figure out if there's something profitable you can craft, and then you craft one of each of that, as long as you can afford it. But if you have 10,000 gold, then it's going to be very quick to spend that. And what you do then is obviously you need to add farming to your repertoire. You need to spend some time generating gold so you can invest into more items on the auction house or more materials on the auction house to craft with, or to sell or whatever. There's also the possible scenario that you open your profession window and there's nothing profitable. Particularly, I think this is a risk in Dragonflight, because if you don't have the correct build, then there's not going to be much profit, as we can see here on this jewel crafting character. When we optimize for inspiration, there's nothing that's really meaningfully profitable. Then you have to make up your mind to take a look here. Is it likely that any of these would be profitable if I could add knowledge points that I haven't put in? So I have 11 knowledge available, so obviously I could improve my my profession. Or is it likely that nothing is going to be profitable for another 40, 50, 100 knowledge? Then you may have to consider swapping it out for another profession, or looking at other gold making methods, flipping and or farming. Yeah, and then hopefully you found something that's profitable, and then you post that stuff to the auction house. I'd suggest when you're just starting out, just use the base UI. Just right click the item you want to post, undercut the cheapest one, and then you wait. Once you get the sale, then you know this is something I can profitably craft more of that, and then you just let what you enjoy and what you actually get results with lead you onwards. Keep crafting what sells, and then keep trying out new recipes, keep adding more professions, keep adding more items. If you're trying to do flipping, just look for more transmog, look for more battle pets, and then you slowly build upwards and upwards, and hopefully you'll eventually have an empire the size of what you want to have. For that journey, you can find tons of videos for specific markets on my YouTube. You can add questions in the comments. I'll read them and try to point you in the right direction. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. If there's something I missed that you feel like this, why didn't you tell us this, then let me know in the comments as well, and we can look at that as well. Have fun, guys. Good luck.